In March of 2020, the curtains closed for the last time on every stage across New York City. The city dimmed its lights as it prepared to battle the coronavirus pandemic, and its artists went into an uncertain hibernation. Now, the arts are getting ready to awaken. Shakespeare in the Park is set to make a return after its cancellation last year. The Open Culture program will turn the streets of Brooklyn into performance spaces for the spring. And Mayor Bill de Blasio has announced a new plan to establish a dedicated COVID-19 vaccination site on Broadway for workers in the theater industry, along with a new mobile unit for off-Broadway workers. But are these initiatives enough to pull our arts and culture industry back together? In her article, What New York State Owes Its Artists, Garnet Henderson details the many ways that New York City performers have been left in the dust. Henderson has spent most of her life dancing and trusting in the promise of New York City's bright lights. The Wyoming native is a dancer, choreographer, journalist, and personal trainer, working to share her creativity and shed light on the experience of being a performer in NYC.
I have been training to be a professional dancer since I was 3 years old. I have worked harder at that than anybody I know in any other field has worked for their career. The only reason I'm a personal trainer is so that I can be a dancer. That's work that I do to enable me to dance. And that's exactly what's been so hard about the pandemic, is that if the dance industry, if I had known it was just going to be devastated this way, I might have made completely different choices about what I would have done with my life. It takes tremendous dedication and a willingness to continue in a field that most of the time feels like it wants you to fail. It actually is true as a dancer that if you don't get a particular opportunity, that's it.
The arts have in many ways shaped our city. And without them, New York is missing a big part of both its culture and its annual revenue. The United States Bureau of Economic Analysis reports that the arts and culture industry contributes $119.9 billion to New York's economy. For decades, New York City stages have served as a battling ground for the arts. The age-old saying is true. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Just like Henderson, Anna Christina Gigi Buffington was brought here by her big dreams. She jumped from her home in Chicago to North Carolina to her friend's driveway in Jersey before she finally landed in Manhattan, where her journey into the Big Apple's arts and performance industry finally began. Now, Buffington is a voice and text coach, a director, a producer, and a professor at New York University's Tisch School of the Arts. Throughout her career, she has seen the city grow and flourish with bright new ideas and even brighter stars to carry them forward.
It was 1986, and this could be a romantic notion. I mean, people were dancing on rooftops, and there was a lot of, theater making going on in the streets. And, there seemed to be quite unusual, what we would call more unusual possibilities for how performance could occur. People were able to make things happen without having gazillions of dollars. It was more challenging, and of course it is so much more challenging in Manhattan to produce work.
As New York City prepares to raise the curtain, we have to wonder if there will be performers behind them. 2/3 of New York City's arts and culture jobs have disappeared. And even with unemployment and paycheck protection programs, many artists who were already struggling before the pandemic find themselves turning away from the arts for financial support.
In the last Dance NYC coronavirus impact survey, which I think they have a new one that's about to come out, but in the last one they found that 74% of dancers in New York said that they needed help to buy food. So we're not talking about people just kind of struggling. We're talking about people literally not having enough money to eat. The main form of assistance that's been available to most artists is unemployment. But the problem is our unemployment system is still not designed to serve freelancers. So it's really hard if you're someone whose income comes from a patchwork of different gigs to submit proof of that and to say, here's how much I would be making, because you don't have pay stubs that you can submit. And especially for many people, a full year into the pandemic, we've basically lost an entire year out of our performing arts calendar. And there's no way to document that loss of income really in a way that satisfies the government.
So what does an initiative in favor of New York City's artists look like?
A program that would really help New York City artists would prioritize the people who need jobs and who need income the most. So it would prioritize people who have been fully unemployed and who are living close to the poverty level. And it would, create jobs for them first. So they'd be the highest priority, and then it would go up from there. And an important thing, too, is that it would give money directly to the artists. So we already have a huge problem in the United States where so much of our arts funding, almost all of it, is mediated through institutions. That drives inequity, where these big institutions that are almost all controlled by wealthy white people get all the money, and then it's supposed to trickle down to the artists. And that really was not working before the pandemic, and it's especially not working right now, where people are at risk of being evicted or not having enough money to buy groceries.
But I think that another initiative that could be and needs to be spearheaded is how to get funding from people that need to write off money, right, like tax write-offs, where that money can go to artists, right? So we have theaters that philanthropists can donate to. We have, schools that philanthropists could donate to. But the independent artists, right? What is the umbrella for that? And not say, oh yeah, it all has to come from the city and the state. But wealthy people, and we know there are some very wealthy people in this country, let alone in this city, could participate in. And it would be doing a lot of good.
Live performances are set to resume in April, and the new vaccination plan brings hopes of restarting Broadway in September. But what we have yet to see is a plan to help performers rebuild their lives and continue to chase their dreams.